Alchemy being a forbidden knowledge, the tablets were condemned for thousands of years by the Egyptian priesthood. When Atlantis sunk into the ocean, Thoth formed a colony in the land of Chem, or as we call it today, Egypt, where he built the Great Pyramid of Giza, which he used to store records of Atlantis. Thoth was eventually called back into the realm of the gods, but before he left, he sealed his records up inside the pyramid and assigned guards to protect it. The descendants of the guards appointed by Thoth eventually became the pyramid priests of ancient Egypt. Around 1300 BC, the pyramid priests brought the tablets to modern-day Yucatan, where he found the Mayans and settled with them. Years later, the Spaniards would conquer South America and the plates would be forgotten. In 1925, a man named Ariel allegedly recovered the plates and translated them into English through the Brotherhood of Light. Ariel's translation can now be found on the internet, which was published with a preface by the author. It reads as follows. The history of the tablets is strange and beyond the belief of modern scientists. Their antiquity is stupendous, dating back some 36,000 years before Christ. The writer is Thoth, an Atlantean priest king who founded a colony in ancient Egypt after the sinking of the mother country. He was the builder of the Great Pyramid of Giza, erroneously attributed to Cheops. In it, he incorporated his knowledge of the ancient wisdom and also securely secreted records and instruments of the ancient Atlantis. For some 16,000 years, he ruled the ancient race of Egypt from approximately 50,000 BC to 36,000 BC. At that time, the ancient barbarous race among which he and his followers had settled had been raised into a high degree of civilization. Thoth was an immortal, that is, he had conquered death, passing only when he willed, and even then not through death. His vast wisdom made him ruler over the various Atlantean colonies, including the ones in South and Central America. When the time came for him to leave Egypt, he created the Great Pyramid over the entrance of the Great Halls of Amenti, placed in it his records, and appointed guards for his secrets from among the highest of his people. In later times, the descendants of these guards became the pyramid priests, by which Thoth was defined as a god of wisdom, the recorder, and by those in the Age of Darkness, which followed his passing. In legend, the halls of Amenti became the underworld, the halls of the gods, where the soul passed after death for judgment. During the later ages, the ego of Thoth passed into the bodies of men in the manner described in the tablets. As such, he incarnated 3 times, in his last being known as Hermes, the thrice-born.
In the world of the lost symbol, the more we know, the more we want to keep hidden. At a critical point in the lost symbol, a prominent character's life hangs in the balance. To save himself, he asks a stranger, "Is there no help for the widow's son?" The phrase is really a secret Masonic distress signal. The book is referencing an actual ceremonial play performed by only the highest degree Masons. It's rooted in early Masonic lore and is considered the most sacred Masonic ritual. The play features Hiram Abiff, the chief architect of King Solomon's temple, who is confronted by a group of thieves. These men threaten to kill Hiram unless he reveals a secret password. Hiram refuses, and then, as he is being killed, asks, "Is there no help for the widow's son?" Today, Hiram's courage and fidelity in keeping his word not to reveal the secret is a central tenet to every Mason.
In his incarnation, he left the writings known to modern occultists as the Emerald Tablets, a later and far lesser exposition of the ancient mysteries. The tablets translated in his work are 10, which are left in the Great Pyramid in the custody of the pyramid priests. The 10 are divided into 13 parts for the sake of convenience. The last 2 are so great and far-reaching in their import that at present it is forbidden to release them to the world at large. However, in those contained herein are secrets which will prove of inestimable value to serious students. They should read not once but 100 times, for only thus can the true meaning be revealed. A casual reading will give glimpses of beauty, but more intensive study will open adventures of wisdom to the seeker. But now a word as to how these mighty secrets came to be revealed to modern man after being hidden so long. Some 1,300 years before Christ, Egypt, the ancient Chem, was in turmoil. The many delegations of priests were sent to other parts of the world. Among these were some of the pyramid priests who carried with them the emerald tablets as a talisman by which they could exercise authority over the less advanced priestcraft of races descended from other Atlantean colonies. The tablets were understood from legend to give the bearer authority. So, a particular group of priests bearing the tablets emigrated to South America, where they found a flourishing race, the Mayas, who remembered much of the ancient wisdom. Among these, the priests settled and remained. In the 10th century, the Mayas had thoroughly settled the Yucatan, and the tablets were placed beneath an altar of one of the great temples of the sun god. After the conquest of the Mayas by the Spaniards, the cities were abandoned and the treasures of the temples forgotten. It should be understood that the Great Pyramids of Egypt has been, and still is, a temple of initiation into the mysteries. Jesus, Solomon, Apollonius, and others were initiated there. The writer was instructed to recover and return the Great Pyramid and the ancient tablets. Thus, after adventures which need not be detailed here, was accomplished. Before returning them, he was given permission to translate and retain a copy of the wisdom engraved on the tablets. This was done in 1925, and only now has permission been given for part to be published. It is expected that many will scoff, yet the true student will read between the lines and gain wisdom. If the light is in you, the light which is engraved in the tablets will respond. Now a word as to the material aspect of the tablets. They consist of 12 tablets of emerald green, formed from a substance created through alchemical transmutation. They are imperishable, resistant to all elements and substances. In fact, the atomic cellular structure is fixed, no change ever taking place. In this respect, they violate the material law of ionization. Upon them are engraved characters in the ancient Atlantean language, characters which respond to the attuned thought waves, releasing the associated mental vibration in the mind of the reader. The tablets are fastened together with hoops of golden-colored alloy suspended from a rod of the same material. So much for the material appearance. The wisdom contained therein is the foundation of the ancient mysteries, and for the one who reads with open mind and open eyes, his wisdom shall be increased 100-fold. Read. Believe it or not, but read, and the vibration found therein will awaken a response in your soul. In cosmic harmony, the real, supreme voice of the brotherhood.
Now, they were recorded in legend as the Hermetic text, and wise men and alchemists from the medieval pyramids to the present day seeking the wisdom of the universe have longed to discover the originals. Egyptian kings through the centuries longed more than anything else to discover the original wisdom of Thoth. Interesting, huh? The magician Gigi tells him that the rolls lies in a series of 7 boxes watched over by an immortal serpent curled around the outer box. This in turn lies in the deepest part of the river Coptus. Anyway, the magician didn't go get the scrolls for him. And anyway, did the kings of this fated dynasty find the lost text? History does not record it, but in Thercenter and Heliopolis, the seers became the inheritors of wisdom. They passed this knowledge from one generation of kings to the next, including the secrets of how to communicate with the land of the gods and how to maintain Maat. Isn't that interesting? Because I think this is a lot to do with the fallen angels. They know how to communicate with them and get secret technology. This is why the Egyptians were actually supposedly more evolved than we are, which makes no sense. You cannot reverse evolve. Balance and chaos, as the ancient Egyptians understood the world, was identical, kind of like duality. This earth was created as a mound out of the waters of primordial chaos, order out of chaos, just like Albert Pike and all that. Beyond the western horizon lay the other world, a parallel world occupied by spirits of the resurrected dead. Every night the sun left our world to shine in the other world. And basically, as it sank, the spirits of the dead were judged, And then they were sent into the other world, a perfect replica of Egypt without its problems. These two worlds were duplicates, definitely hinting at duality. It was absolutely vital to maintain these two worlds in balance, or Maat, and we're going to come and talk about Maat in a little bit. But first, it says right here, it was weighed against Maat, cosmic balance. What do you call it? Karma and that kind of theory, maybe?
As above, so below.
Now this is a symbol that explains so much about religion and many of the symbols you see in the modern world. Because of the focus on the sun in its various levels of importance and understanding, this symbol was devised in the ancient world to symbolize the passage of the sun through the year. They did the circle with the zodiac, zodiac coming from a Greek word meaning animal circle appropriately. They broke the circle into four, the seasons, with the cross, and they put the sun on the cross. I've heard that somewhere before.
This is the sun. As far back as 10,000 BC, history is abundant with carvings and writings reflecting people's respect and adoration for this object. And it is simple to understand why, as every morning the sun would rise, bringing vision, warmth, and security, saving man from a cold, blind, predator-filled darkness and night. Without it, the cultures understood the crops would not grow, and life on the planet would not survive. These realities made the sun the most adored object of all time. Likewise, they were also very aware of the stars. The tracking of the stars allowed them to recognize and anticipate events which occurred over long periods of time, such as eclipses and full moons. They in turn cataloged celestial groups into what we know today as constellations. This is the cross of the zodiac, one of the oldest conceptual images in human history. It reflects the sun as it figuratively passes through the 12 major constellations over the course of the year. It also reflects the 12 months of the year, the 4 seasons, and the solstices and equinoxes. The term zodiac relates to the fact that constellations were anthropomorphized, or personified, as figures or animals. In other words, the early civilizations did not just follow the sun and stars, they personified them with elaborate myths involving their movements and relationships. The sun, with its life-giving and saving qualities, was personified as a representative of the unseen creator or God, God's Son, the light of the world, the savior of humankind. Likewise, the 12 constellations represented places of travel for God's Son, and were identified by names, usually representing elements of nature that happened during that period of time. For example, Aquarius, the water bearer, who brings the spring rains. This is Horus. He is the sun god of Egypt of around 3000 BC. He is the sun anthropomorphized, and his life is a series of allegorical myths involving the sun's movement in the sky. From the ancient hieroglyphics in Egypt, we know much about the solar Messiah. For instance, Horus, being the sun or the light, had an enemy known as Set, and Set was the personification of the darkness or night. And, metaphorically speaking, every morning Horus would win the battle against Set, while in the evening Set would conquer Horus and send him into the underworld. It is important to note that dark versus light, or good versus evil, is one of the most ubiquitous mythological dualities ever known, and is still expressed on many levels to this day. Broadly speaking, the story of Horus is as follows. Horus was born on December 25th of the Virgin Isis Mary. His birth was accompanied by a star in the east, and upon his birth he was adored by 3 kings. At the age of 12, he was a prodigal child teacher, and at the age of 30, he was baptized by a figure known as Anak, and thus began his ministry. Horus had 12 disciples he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick and walking on water. Horus was known by many gestural names such as the Truth, the Light, God's anointed Son, the Good Shepherd, the Lamb of God, and many others. After being betrayed by Typhon, Horus was crucified, buried for 3 days, and thus resurrected. These attributes of Horus, whether original or not, seem to permeate many cultures of the world, for many other gods are found to have the same general mythological structure. Adam Gaius of Phrygia, born of the Virgin Nana on December 25th, crucified, placed in a tomb, and after 3 days was resurrected.